What's it all about? You spend 3 hours rewriting the same email, delete your Instagram post because it only got 47 likes instead of 50, and you'd rather turn in nothing than turn in something imperfect. Sound familiar? Today we're exposing the dark psychology behind perfectionism and why your brain's obsession with flawless might actually be sabotaging everything you touch. Why do some people freeze up completely at the idea of making a mistake? Your perfectionist brain has some seriously twisted logic, and it's way more dangerous than you think. I'm about to reveal the shocking truth about perfectionism that almost nobody talks about. We're talking genetic wiring, childhood trauma, and why perfectionism is actually linked to higher suicide rates. By the end, you'll understand why good enough might be the most rebellious thing you ever say. Let's start with a bombshell. Perfectionism isn't about high standards. It's about impossible standards. And here's the kicker. It's getting worse. Studies show perfectionism has increased by 33% since the 1980s. We're literally becoming more obsessed with being flawless in a world that's never been more chaotic. Ready for something controversial? Perfectionism is now classified as a mental health risk factor, not a positive trait. The American Psychological Association links it to anxiety, depression, eating disorders, and even early death. So when someone says, "I'm a perfectionist," like it's a badge of honor, they're basically saying, I have a psychological pattern that could kill me. Here's where it gets really dark. Perfectionist thinking is behind some of the highest suicide rates in high-achieving populations. Countries like South Korea and Japan, where perfectionism is culturally celebrated, have some of the world's highest suicide rates among students and professionals. The pressure to be perfect literally kills people. Your perfectionist brain runs on a twisted reward system. Normal brains get dopamine from completing tasks. Perfectionist brains only get dopamine from completing tasks perfectly, which almost never happens. It's like being addicted to a drug that doesn't exist. Plot twist. Perfectionism often starts with childhood emotional neglect. When kids learn that love and approval only come when they perform flawlessly, their brains wire themselves to believe that anything less than perfect equals abandonment. That voice in your head saying not good enough isn't about standards, it's about survival. Here's a mind bender. Perfectionism and procrastination are the same thing. When you can't start because it won't be perfect, you're not being thorough. You're avoiding the possibility of being human. Perfectionists don't procrastinate despite their high standards. They procrastinate because of them. The most controversial fact about perfectionism? It makes you worse at everything. Studies show that perfectionist athletes choke under pressure. Perfectionist students get lower grades due to overthinking, and perfectionist employees are less creative and more likely to burn out. The thing you think makes you better is actually making you worse. Social media has weaponized perfectionism. Every post you see is someone's highlight reel, but your brain treats it like their everyday reality. Instagram didn't create perfectionism, but it gave it steroids. Now you're not just comparing yourself to people you know, you're comparing yourself to millions of curated, filtered, edited versions of reality. Here's something nobody talks about. Perfectionism is contagious. If you're a perfectionist parent, you're likely raising perfectionist kids. If you're a perfectionist boss, you're creating a perfectionist workplace. The anxiety and impossible standards spread like a virus through families and organizations. Ready for the biggest plot twist? Good enough is actually optimal in most situations. The 80-20 rule shows that 80% of results come from 20% of effort. When you spend hours perfecting that last 20%, you're literally wasting 80% of your time for almost no improvement. Good enough isn't settling, it's being smart. The perfectionism paradox. The more you try to control outcomes, the less control you actually have. When you're obsessed with every detail, you become paralyzed by variables you can't control. People who embrace good enough adapt faster and achieve more because they're not stuck in analysis paralysis. Here's the recovery secret that most therapists won't tell you. You have to deliberately do things imperfectly. Set a timer for 25 minutes and force yourself to submit whatever you have when it goes off. Post that photo with weird lighting. Send that email with a slightly awkward phrase. Your brain needs to learn that imperfection doesn't equal disaster. The Japanese have a concept called wabi-sabi, finding beauty in imperfection. Meanwhile, Western culture teaches us that flaws are failures, but every innovation, every breakthrough, every piece of art that moves people has imperfections. Perfection is sterile. Imperfection is human. Let's talk perfectionist relationships. When you expect perfection from yourself, you expect it from everyone else. You become the person who corrects their partner's grammar, criticizes their cooking, and makes them feel like they're walking on eggshells. Perfectionism doesn't just ruin your life, it ruins the lives of people around you. The most liberating truth about perfectionism: nobody cares about your mistakes as much as you do. That typo in your email, nobody noticed. That slightly crooked picture you posted scrolled past in 0.3 seconds. You're torturing yourself over things that only exist in your head. Here's your perfectionism recovery toolkit. First, the B- rule. Aim for B- work on everything that isn't life or death. Second, set good enough deadlines and stick to them. Third, celebrate your mistakes. Literally, throw a party when you mess up because it means you're trying. Fourth, practice the phrase, "that's good enough," until it doesn't make you physically uncomfortable. The final truth about perfectionism: it's not about being perfect. It's about being afraid. So, what's your weirdest perfectionism story? Drop it in the comments and subscribe for more stick figure psychology that actually sticks.